So, this is Steve. Nice to see you again, Steve.
Good to meet you, Colin. Fantastic. Good to meet you again.
Steve has published his own book, starting with a book called Cook's Coaches, which he produced for, is a local interest story, and he produced that for local people as just as a local interest story. And from there, he's now self-published another book, which is Minicab, which he spent several years researching, and it's a fascinating story. So I'm here today just to ask Steve how he went about it, and the ins and outs, and try and find a bit more detail. So let's have a slab of tea.
We're filming this as we're going, yeah?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Ching ching. I love a G&T.
So what made you decide to start self-publishing in the first place?
I have always really enjoyed collecting stories, listening to different tales that people have told me, even when I was much younger, and I've sort of spent years just collating things, just out of curiosity and interest.
Yeah. Never
really knew what to do with it. And I think it was only in more recent times that I sort of discovered this story, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
Again, started to write about it, curious to research. The strange thing was, I knew that really the more information I was finding out, it needed to be turned into something.
Yes.
I just wanted to follow my own path.
Yeah.
And of course, self-publishing was just something that I thought, well, I can do this.
Well, there's a genuine story there, isn't there?
Oh, there is,
a
yes.
story which hadn't been told.
Yeah.
And I do think it's. I have read the book, and I think it's a really good story. And I think you've done a great job, and I don't think anyone else would have uncovered it if you hadn't done that.
Well, that was an interesting thing, because originally it was going to be a small piece just about the Renault Dauphine cars in the story, and the few bits I could find out were just sort of a small snippet in a magazine that had been overwritten again. In the end, I just sort of kept thinking, no, there's more to this than meets the eye. So I just kept scratching away. And one of the things that got me to a point where it could go from being just a small article I was going to write for the club magazine was when I actually met one of the former staff, that his father was the finance director. With this, he produced basically the company archive, for want of a better word, and with that, suddenly this whole story then emerged. It did, literally, because everything that people could never find out, suddenly there was a huge wealth of information, and that's where it went from being perhaps a small article into, this has got to be a book. This needs to be written now.
Well, of course, for you as well, because because you run Empress Coaches, you own Empress Coaches. Because you're in the local circles with the automotive trade, you have the opportunity to produce that story and sell that story as well, don't you? You have a market there.
That's right. Yes.
And you know the ins and outs of that market, so you've got a head start. Basically, you know there's a story there that can be sold.
Oh, that's right. I mean, there's, as you can imagine, there's a lot of different titles written about transport of all types. This particular story is literally a gap on the bookshelf, because there's just never been nothing written about this type of subject matter, not in detail, and that's why I really wanted to go down the route of actually getting this into a book. Yeah.
So that you've actually got a physical product, and you can tell that story to people.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah.
Did you talk to any publishers, or did you just want to do it self-publish yourself?
It's something that I started to look into to see what the possibilities would be. One of the things about that aspect, interesting enough, that you couldn't seem to get much engagement. Some of the companies people wouldn't respond to messages, or they weren't really interested. Send us something over, we might look at it.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem to go anywhere. And it was that point that a friend of mine, who'd self-published a story himself, I actually contacted him and said, who have you worked with? And your name came up.
Yeah. That's
and
good.
Man for the job.
Yeah, well, we do try.
It was great, because he was very candid. He said, look, I've never written a book before. He's a very specialist subject, and he sang your praises because he said, Colin, he helped me through the whole process, because I think for him it was daunting to self-publish, and it gave me the confidence then to say, actually, I could do this.
Yeah.
So
well, because obviously we've been in business for 30 years, and because we've set books for that period of time, we do know the ins and outs of getting a story to print, and also getting it into an ebook and online if you need, if that's what you need. So and in all honesty, it's really nice work. I enjoy doing it. It's nice to meet people like yourself, and self-publishing authors and do some work for them, and it's quite rewarding actually to see the fruits of your labour and know that actually the books are being sold and it's all going well.
Yeah, well, for me, the same rewarding for the pure fact that I've gone from what was essentially a manuscript and a selection of photographs to see you be able to pull this together into something which actually, like, my goodness, I've got the finished product. Yeah, it was wonderful. Writing is one thing. The aspects of them, where that leads you, and how to get that into this—that's another story, isn't it? So,
and that's what you pay for, isn't it? You pay for the expertise,
yes,
and the knowledge, and making sure that everything goes through, and there's no hurdles that you stumble over, and everything is produced in the right way, and you don't get any nasty shocks, and what you pay for is what you get, and you get a good product that you can sell.
You do. I mean, for example, with the book, I mean, what impressed me so much was that obviously I had a vision which you're happy to run with, but it's the fact that in the book itself, the layout, the correct, the way it's all put together, the book breathes when you read this. I mean, I know I'm biased. Because I wrote it, but I mean, I read lots of books myself, and some are interesting, some are, but this is perfect in the respect. I think that the whole layout, the way the whole thing's been produced, credit to you, Colin, because you know what will work and what won't.
Yeah, I tend to find most authors have an idea of how they'd like a book to look. And we can help them. We can give them a more professional feel, and then they can decide. Yes, that's how I want it to look, because it's really important how the book fits the story, how the layout of the book fits the story, because the reader that's going to read it, it's got to have the right feel to it, and it's a really important thing, because then you'll get the right reader reading the book, and they'll enjoy it and get more from it. I also think, we didn't produce the cover for that book, but I think the cover is really good, and I do like it's simple, but it hits you right in the face, and it says what it is.
It does, exactly, because it is a book with a long title.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
it's got a short title, and then
it has, which is great. It has, but the guy that the producer front cover, again, it was. He's done a fantastic job, because it does immediately hit you, because it does what it says on the tin. It's really pleased with the results. It needed to be eye catching, and that's good.
Yeah, you did a great job. So when you were self-publishing, when you decided to self-publish, the considerations I would imagine you had were, firstly, obviously we've talked about how to get it into print. How much it would cost.
Yes.
You must have had a certain budget. You set the price of the book.
Yeah, that was a very interesting aspect. I mean, again, a learning curve. Again, I think like all these things, you learn all the time. The sort of transport-related books, there seems to be a bit of a key price that a lot of people would be happy to buy a book of a certain cost. I think the thing that with this, like the story about Cook's Coaches and the Minicab book, I wanted something which was a good quality publication. Yes. So it needed to be not just something. Yeah, of course, costs are important, and the main thing though that it was something that was it's only going to be done the once technically. So you want it to be right.
Yes.
And for the whole thing, the way the book's put together, it's got to be nice. It is very difficult pricing these things up, I know, because you can never work out. Some people will seem to happily pay quite a large amount for a book, and sometimes I think people are driven by what they feel is the right sort of price that they would be tempted to then read that, because obviously it's an unknown until you actually read it, isn't it? So so that's that. Yeah, I think getting the cost right, that's always an interesting balance too. But
yeah. So you weighed up all your costs before you went ahead and
that's right.
Set your price and did all that sort of due diligence, really.
Absolutely, that's right.
Forward.
That's right. Yes, I mean this book was probably harder to work out the costing of it and what would make it attractive to buy, because it's there's nothing else like it on the bookshelf. It's one of these unusual titles that's it's one of them stories you've got to read. It's never been written.
It's more of a specialised.
It is. It is specialised. That's right, and that was the difficult balance.
Although I would say not too specialised. I think it's an interesting story, which will appeal to a lot of people.
Yes, I mean it's something which it's probably one of these books that really it's sort of waiting to break. That it's the type of story that you go to the cinema or you see it on film.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was interviewing different people that were working for the company in the 1960s, one of them actually did say to me, they said, there was lots of questions being asked about, why are you asking? Why do you want to know about the company, Welbeck Motors? And apparently one of them had actually been tracked down by Channel 4 in the late 80s, I think. They were trying to look at doing something then, but they at the time nothing could be found out about the company. Just they couldn't seem to go anywhere with it. There obviously was something there they were interested in, so there has been interest in it, in the actual story.
Right. So what initially drew you to this story? How did you initially find out about it to start writing about it?
Well, that's the interesting thing. Speaking about drawing me to the story, that was the problem. You couldn't find anything out about the story itself. Everything that had been written in previously were just small pieces in motoring magazines, where there was a little about a minicab operation that had started up, opposition from the taxi trade due to these new sort of technically unregulated minicabs that were taken to the streets of the capital, cheap fares being advertised. There were other companies in London that were doing a lot of business. They were running quite successfully. Welbeck Motors were probably one of the large ones that had started up. What made them perhaps a little bit different from the others, they were using the venture was backed by a millionaire businessman. The fares were going to be set at £1 a mile, which was very good value. So of course the public were very much wanting this new form of transport. It was the scale of the operation. In real terms, it cost millions today. Serious investment. Fleet of brand new Renault Dauphine cars that were going to be used for the operation. They were fitted with two-way radios on board, so the drivers could take pre-bookings. There was for the time, a lot of technology. Probably you could say this company was really, before Uber was even thought of. This is almost the Uber of the early 1960s. So it's a story which shows that everything's been done before.
So did you know about this story before?
A little bit, probably like lots of people. People are sort of who perhaps have read stories or looked at things that from previous small written articles, knew about minicabs in London in the early 60s. But of course, really specifically about Welbeck Motors, not really a lot. I mean, Dinky Toys, because the operation was such a huge story in 1961 as events played out, it was one of the biggest media stories of 1961. The guy that fronted the whole operation out, Michael Gottler, he was actually voted Businessman of the Year 1961. And now really the story had really over the years has just sunk without a trace. Yeah. So it's something which I kept thinking, no, this needs to this story needs to be told. I knew just little bits. Yeah.
You went digging to find out more.
That's right, because that was the biggest issue. I think, like many people, perhaps lots of people know a little bit about it, but not really much. So it's one of those stories where there's the usual sort of few things written about it, but not more than just basics about the operation. So it's a story that really needed a lot more research.
Yeah. So when you were doing your research into the story, How far afield did you have to go? You met some people from that worked for the company, didn't you?
That's right. Yes.
Are they local to here in Hastings, or did you have to travel?
But of course, this was a national story. The events that took place, they were a West London based company, only round the corner from Paddington Station.
Yeah.
And the most of the guys that I could find, incredibly, one of them was actually living round the corner from where the operation actually was happening in the 60s. He was still local to that area, but I was down in West Sussex. I managed to find somebody down there, and other people that have all now moved around the country, different places. It was a challenge because even at the time when I first started writing, it was coming up for 60 years ago that the operation had first started. So obviously anyone still alive connected with the story, even if they were very young, would be in their 80s.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge to track down people.
So how did you track them down?
Again, well, it was a question of just keep going and keep going. I would occasionally find a name of somebody that would lead me on to perhaps that they might have known someone else that worked for them. They'd stayed in touch.
Right, yeah.
So I was literally like a detective.
Yeah.
Having to sort of slowly try and track down different names. When Michael Gottler had left the Minicab operation in London, he himself moved down to West Sussex,
Right.
and he bought a business down at Sompting, Hill Barn Garage. That was another start on then trying to find people that perhaps had worked at Hill Barn or knew him, the local area. Again, I put appeals in newspapers. We'd perhaps get a lead on a name, or somebody thought they knew somebody, so I'd just keep going until eventually you could start to track down different people involved, with Michael and his different businesses.
Yeah.
But it was good fun. That's the great part about
Yes.
it, because it takes you down, avenues you don't know that you're going to go down.
Yeah, it must be fascinating.
It can be. It becomes quite engrossing. That's the problem. So I am meant to be running a business at the same time.
Yeah, you've still got to do the day job, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. Which the day job is great, but of course, but you do get. That's the great thing about writing. I've always tried to be modest and not so I'm an author or anything. But I do enjoy writing.
You've done an awful lot of work to do that, and it's really good.
It's something
really
that you find that I didn't want it just to be something which, like all of these small articles over the years that have been written in magazines, where they're just the same few words all rewritten to look like it's another story, when in fact it's just the same information. This time round,
it's a genuine story.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I ended up
been genuinely researched.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was various facilities. I mean, I went up to the BT archive at High Holborn in London. They were fantastic. Again, really, it was to just try and find out different premises that the company was trading from.
Yeah.
Before they launched the Minicab venture, Welbeck Motors were car hire, car sales.
Yeah.
They started off at the end of the war with one car, and they were chauffeuring. So of course, using the BT facility could lead me down paths to try and find them in telephone book listings.
Yeah.
So you could get addresses, which would then lead you down. It literally is building a whole picture of where the company were at different times. So that was. And
good. You're talking 60 years ago, aren't you? So
that's right. Yeah, but in fact, actually going right back to when Michael Gottler first started up with his own single car, you're going back to the sort of the mid 1940s, literally on the back of the Second World War.
Yeah.
So I went back even further to then move forward with the story, because it's something very interesting.
Yeah, no, and to go back and find all those records, that's very rewarding, isn't it? And I can see actually why, now that you've got the final book and it's all in front, you can see all that work that you've done in front of you, and it must be a very proud moment actually.
Yeah, it is, because I think writing this, it's the fact that you feel that you, as you read the story, that the information, everything, all those questions that you'd want to ask, all the answers are there.
Yeah.
Because of the research that's gone into the book, you can understand at different times things that are going on, where people are at, what they're doing, but it's all through the research, rather than things being very sort of generalised, like perhaps previous articles had been, small articles. This would actually give you the full account, the full story.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, congratulations. It's a really good job. and your ISBN number. I mean, obviously for production purposes, you have to register as a publisher and as your own publisher, and with Nielsen to get your ISBNs. Because if you want to sell books, obviously you've got to have the ISBN number for each product, and put that information on the page. You found that all really fairly straightforward, did you, to do that?
Reasonably. I was very fortunate in respect that, and this again is what gave me the passion to do this.
Yeah.
Was that probably back in 2009, I'd put together what became a small book just about Empress coaches. At the time, 2009, we were celebrating our 80th anniversary, and we decided to put something in. And a guy that I'd worked with said, "Oh, I'll arrange the ISBN numbers," and I thought I was just going to buy the one. And in fact, I discovered he'd actually got 10, paid for 10. And of course, knowing that, and as the years have moved on, and different things that I'd been writing and making notes and putting things to one side, one day, and of course, having the ISBN numbers made me think, actually, I'm further ahead towards that goal of now doing further things because I've got the ISBN numbers. Yes, it was something which perhaps, to go back there and make sure that we've got all of the numbers, the information inputted correctly and everything like that. There was a procedure to follow. I think it was relatively straightforward. It's always a little bit daunting because they're because
you're not doing it regularly.
No, that's the thing. I think when you're on things more regularly, then everything then is a lot more easier to work with. But I mean, if you were a publisher and you were producing 50 books a year, then it would just be all part of the process. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But obviously, I mean, if you buy one ISBN, it's quite expensive. But if you can then get a batch of 10, which makes it a bit more affordable if you're going to do a few books.
Oh yeah, and I mean, again, when that's one thing I will say now. Actually, rather than perhaps if somebody is looking to self-publish, if you can afford to, I'd rather than get the one, if you can get the 10, that would certainly. Then perhaps give you the passion to then think about future titles. Because you've got those available.
You've got the numbers, so you've got that.
Yeah, because you will become more driven. Thinking, I've got another title. I've
got that capacity, haven't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, you didn't produce an ebook of this, but obviously, if you were producing an ebook, then you would need a separate ISBN for the ebook. So that would be. So you need another one anyway.
That's right.
The case.
Yeah, and fun enough, I think that's something which I must consider the ebook thing, because that's something I haven't done as yet. But really, yes, I think if you've got all options available and there's all methods for people to read these books, then why not?
Well, of course, because you've got that. Because we've made up a print version for you, actually to create the ebook would be a fairly simple process.
Great.
So it wouldn't be a large financial outlay. You've already got the ISBNs.
Yeah.
So you could literally just produce your ebook and upload it and sell it.
Yeah, but again, back to you, Colin. That's something you can help me with.
It is.
You've signed yourself up for the next job.
I've got no problems with that at all. Have you got any future books in the pipeline?
I have. I'm currently working on a title about another local coach operator in Hastings. Very long established. They're coming up for 95 years in business, and that's something which is quite a challenge because it's quite there's a lot of information to go in. It's a very personal story. It's a family-run business, but I think I'm trying to make that sort of interesting, entertaining. It doesn't matter what it is in life, whether it's a business or it's a story about an individual. I think that I feel it's always important to be able to give a really great story of
to put your best foot forward.
The highs and the lows, but I think we all like the highs, don't we?
Yeah, but you have to have the lows.
Of course, there's a few lows.
I think you appreciate the highs. Then.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm thoroughly enjoying that, and there are a couple more with the passion now of been able to produce these.
Yeah,
there's other stories that I've had, things that I've made notes about, and different conversations and things I've recorded. and that's given me the interest to then look towards that in the future too, to perhaps look at discover other titles. But at the moment, yeah, it's I think you could say it's mainly in the transport sector. I think because I tend to know the industry.
I think that is your forte, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you've got a lot of detailed knowledge about the transport industry, and and I think that comes across. You know, when you write, you know, you've got a genuine feeling and affection for it, and you know your writing does reflect that. You know, so it's stick to what you know.
My wife, she reads a lot of fiction books by a very well-known author. Can't mention names, can we?
you can if you want to.
Well, she loves her Danielle Steele.
Does she? We've set an awful lot of Danielle Steele books out of years.
Yeah. Yeah. But well, again, you see, and I've often sort of looked over her shoulder when she's reading at times, and I thought, I wonder if I could have a go at writing like that. We'd have to dream up a name, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Can you offer advice on that?
I think that's quite a skill.
Using a fake name? Not really joking. But no, that's a whole different market, isn't it? Really? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's. I think if you've got something you're good at, then
absolutely.
I think Danielle Steele is probably she's probably got her mind is much more romantically outlooking. That's probably one way to say it. But
no, but it's true. I think Jane loves those stories because they're every title is so different.
Chips off the tongue.
It does, but again,
for her,
it does. But I think I prefer, for want of a better word, fact. Fiction's wonderful, but again, there's something for everybody, isn't there? And I think sticking to untold stories or stories that can reveal more.
I think the research you've done from what you've said is really a really rewarding thing, and it's a really good thing to fill your time with, isn't it? Because you're getting something from it.
Well, especially when you're researching, when you can find people perhaps that have a connection to the story, and you can then listen to what they tell you, their memoirs, and again there's always something funny that comes up, different things. It connects you to a human side to this, like everything. There is a human element to it, and that's the bit that I enjoy the most. It's the stories.
Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything there. It's been a really interesting chat, Steve. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And good luck with the book. And if anyone wants a copy, then get in touch. It's on our website.
Brilliant. Thanks
very much.
Thank you very much.